Hello, all. This is Dr. Dave Maslach talking about reciprocity.com, the sharing economy proofreading platform that I'm trying to build. The E is spelled with a 3. And in this particular video, I really wanted to talk about what is maturation. And this is all about thinking about threats to internal validity within science and creating a research article that is for some sort of scientific publication. So I'm a professor of innovation strategy and entrepreneurship at a large state institution, and this is the stuff we really think about, and it was a really strong driving force behind creating reciprocity. You can look at some of the older videos, but essentially that there is this dramatic change that's happening within the software industry where we're allowed to do, or we are open to do A/B testing, and that's kind of the stuff that I want to do within this platform is one way to get at doing some sort of, to get great internal validity within studies on organizations. So that's all I wanted to say with that. But I really want to get back into, what is maturation? Why is it so important to internal validity? So what is internal validity? I'm going to go through what exactly internal validity is, and then get into what is maturation, and then perhaps some tips and tricks to make sure that you understand how to sort of correct for and understand the problems with the maturation. So this is part of my Nerd Out Wednesday series. I'm going to get into all the kind of interesting things that I like in science on Wednesdays, and I'm going to start putting out things about different threats to validity over the next couple of weeks. So hopefully you like these videos and you can pay attention to them. So what is internal validity? That is, and I have older videos on that, you can look at that, but essentially what it is where you don't know whether internal validity is to the extent to which you can suggest that the scientific study that you've created is creating some sort of causal conclusion. So the result that you get is deeply connected and strongly connected to the scientific method that you created, right? So there is the research design that you have sometimes has limitations, right? So it's sometimes really difficult to draw conclusions from the research design that you have if you simply just have sort of a correlational study where you have A is correlated with B, but you can't necessarily conclude that you have any sort of causal understanding that A and B are correlated. There could be all sorts of reasons why they are related, right? So it's difficult to sort of understand why they are related, but sometimes it's clear with the design that you have created, or with the research design that you have created, and then it becomes really, really clear that there is, to some extent, some sort of relationship between them, and perhaps a causal relationship. But obviously you can never conclude that something is causal, but you can get close to it and you can rule out all sorts of explanations with that. So one of the threats to internal validity is maturation. It's probably one of the harder ones to deal with. It's very difficult to deal with. And that is where the study participants whoever you're studying in mind, it's going to be, maybe it's different organizations, maybe it is individuals, maybe it is, I don't know, whatever you're studying, right? You are very concerned that those subjects that you're looking at, those objects of interest, right, that you're looking at are not maturing some way, right? So maybe you're looking at atoms, and you're a chemist. I'm a chemical engineer myself. So maybe you're a chemist and you're looking at atoms. You want to make sure that those atoms are not maturing, those molecules are not maturing from some other force over time of what you're looking at that is unrelated to the explanation you have, right? So it's really important to understand and think about that. Same with subjects. So you have to be very concerned, or same with individuals or organizations, you have to be very concerned with the thing that you're looking at is not maturing, is not changing due to other factors over time, right? So you have to be very concerned about that. So they could be, for example, individuals could be learning themselves, they could be getting smarter, they could be changing, they could be exposed to other things other than what you're theorizing, and that is changing those individuals somehow. So same with the organizations, right? So if you're looking at organizations or firms and you're looking at how you're looking at some sort of effect and you're tracking that over time, well, they can mature, they can change, the culture can change, maybe they get different CEOs coming in, maybe all sorts of things could happen along the way that can lead to maturation and a threat to internal validity, a threat to how you can explain whether A leads to B using the research design that you have. So one way to get around this is to try to couple it as close as possible, the independent variable and the dependent variable as close as possible, right? So you can suggests that A, whatever you're looking at, and you have some sort of manipulation to A, is going to lead to B. And if you can see an effect that is almost instantaneous, right? So you have a control group and a treatment group, and the treatment group has an effect that's instantaneous compared to the control group that doesn't, nothing happens, right? You can draw some pretty strong conclusions from that there's possibly an effect. Now, this gets a little bit more complicated when the effect itself that you're trying to look at, the effect itself maybe is sort of gradual, increases over time, right? Or maybe it has some sort of pulse. Maybe that there's different patterns to the treatment or the effect that you're trying to look at. And that can really complicate things along the way. And what you have to do is perhaps theorize what the effect is going to look like before you look at it, and try to come up with a situation, not try to create a research design where you can isolate that relative to the control group, right? So you can become much more clear that there is something going on behind that there's clearly something happening. So you have to maybe change the level of analysis that you're looking at. Maybe you think about, maybe you're going to experience a gradual change over time with whatever you're looking at, and the treatment is going to be somewhat gradual. Well, then you maybe try to think of different, not only level of analysis, but sort of different time periods where you can sort of have overlapping. Maybe one has one effect in one way and the other one has another effect in the other way. And you try to account for that as much as possible, and try to rule that out as much as possible. Maybe you select on the individuals or the subjects to specifically not change in the way that you think might change over time. Or that are going to change in one specific way, so you control for that effect based on the subjects that you have, right? So that's really one thing that you have to be very careful about, that even if you're seeing sort of a gradual change over time, or if the treatment is a gradual change or has some different effect than an immediate jump up, that you are accounting for that. And that's basically the easiest way, again, is to look for an immediate jump up once that they're in the treatment compared to the control. Once you have the experiment sort of done up and you sort of understand what's going to happen, you're looking for that treatment effect that is clearly a treatment effect compared to something else. And then that's pretty strong proof, I guess, quote unquote proof. You can never prove anything in science, but it is stronger evidence using that and thinking about that than some other effect of just doing correlation, right? So studies that are very, very long, for example, ones that happen over 25 years, sometimes it's really hard to see that effect. But here is the thing: if you have a treatment that happens maybe at year 15, and then you see a huge difference between the control group and the treatment group, and that happens substantially over periods of time, you could do maybe multiple treatments, right? Where you have one where you see a jump up with the thing that you're doing, and then you repeat it again, you get another jump up, then you have very strong sort of evidence that there is something happening there based on that treatment. So that's one thing that you can rule out the effect of maturation, is just to look at, maybe to repeat things multiple times. We'll repeat the treatment multiple times. Maybe another really cool design is where you have the control group, and depends on what you want to do with this, but you have the control group and you treat the treatment group, and you see a jump up in the treatment group, but then you wait for, say, a year, and then you treat the control group, and you see that there's a jump up in the control group at the same time, and you leave the treatment group as the control once again, right? So you're kind of going back and forth. It's a really cool design that allows you to make sure that the control group is susceptible to the treatment as well. It's really incredibly strong evidence with that. It has high internal validity when you do something like that. So once again, thank you so much for listening to this. I do appreciate everything that you're doing. If you like these videos, I'm going to put out all about threats to internal validity over the next little while, because I think this is a really important topic. I think it's really fun. So stay tuned for that. You can look at some of my older videos where I get into what is validity, sort of generic things. How do you have causation, or how do you establish causation, and get into all that kind of stuff. So I'm excited to do this. And if you think that the reciprocity project, the E is spelled with a 3, is interesting, go check it out. Highly recommend that I'm doing this to help you out as researchers and graduate students and other people. Created this project to help you out as much as myself. So go check that out. and appreciate everything that you're doing. Take care. Have a wonderful day. And I'm really looking forward to seeing you on the next video. Bye.